Now we are finally reviewing the magnum opus of the Terminator series.
Those were up, and they did.
We're smart, and my...
He told me enough.
No, I. Here's Chuck.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I am here with a brand new epic movie review. And this epic movie review is going to be for a 1991 sci-fi sequel. I reviewed the first film, I think, a few months ago, and now I'm finally getting on with the review of the sequel. Been finally getting on with this review for a while. Yeah, because I'm excited to talk about this one, because this is easily one of my favorite films of all time and my favorite sequel of the 90s. And what better way for it to be than none other than 1991's Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Once again, like the first film, directed by James Cameron. Back when he was actually cool and not a sellout. But yeah, what's the plot of this movie? Well, it's been 10 years since the Terminator tried to kill Sarah Connor and her unborn son, and Kyle Reese died saving them. The man, who will become the future leader of the human resistance, John Connor, was the son that he was after. Leading the human resistance against the machines was now a healthy young boy, living with foster parents, and now, unfortunately, Sarah Connor has been incarcerated. But, unfortunately, now another Terminator, called the T-1000 this time, gets sent back through time by the supercomputer Skynet. And this now Terminator is more advanced, more powerful than the original T-800 we saw in the first film, and his mission to kill John Connor, who is still a child. But now Sarah and John do not have to face the threat of the T-1000 alone, because now another Terminator that is identical to the one that tried to kill Sarah Connor in 1984 is sent back through time to protect them. And now the battle for the tomorrow and the future of the humanity has begun. Well, yeah. So how was this movie made? Well, we all know when the Terminator released in 1984, it was a surprise hit. It earned $78 million against its $6.4 million budget, and Schwarzenegger's status as a lead actor was confirmed and established James Cameron as a mainstream director. Of course, I'll get to that later stuff in a bit. And Schwarzenegger even expressed interest in a sequel because he felt it would always continue the story right from where they finished the first film. And Cameron says Schwarzenegger was always more enthusiastic about a sequel than he was because Cameron thought the original was better as a complete standalone story. The discussions to make a sequel stalled until 1989 because Cameron, after the first Terminator, would go on to direct some other great films such as Aliens 1986, his best movie, and The Abyss from 1989, an underrated sci-fi feature. And because of a dispute with rights with Lauderdale Film Corporation, the co-founder John Daly attempted to alter the ending of the Terminator against Cameron's wishes and resulted in physical confrontation. A sequel could not be made without Dale's approval, as Cameron surrendered 50% of the rights to get the Terminator made. Cameron also sold half the remaining stake to his ex-wife Gail Ann Hurd and co-writer of the first film, and then for $1 million with 1989's divorce. And Hendel is being sued by Cameron, Schwarzenegger, Hood, and special effects artist Stan Winston for unpaid profits from the Terminator. But with that being said, though, eventually once that was out of the way, they finally were able to film this sequel. And so after this movie was finally completed, the Terminator 2 Judgment Day was a critical and commercial success upon its release on July 25th, 1991. It grossed $519 million to $520 million worldwide at the box office, and it became the highest grossing film in 1991, and at the time, the third highest grossing film of all time. And it won several awards, like the Saturn, BAFTA, and a few Academy Awards. And Terminator 2 there was a lot of Terminator 2 merchandise, like video games, toys, comic books, novels, and yeah, an attraction called T2 3D. And we all know in pop culture today, this movie itself, it's widely considered one of the best science fiction action, and sequel films ever made. It's seen as a major influence on visual effects that helped usher in transition from practical effects to reliance on computer-generated imagery. And the United States Library of Congress selected it for the National Film Registry 2023. Although, James Cameron specifically intended this to be the end of the franchise, 12 years later, they thought this would be bankable because we had a bunch of follow-ups. But we're not going to talk about that right now. Let's just do the review, and we will talk about the follow-ups at the end of this review. Because as for my reaction, guys, you guys all know this is my favorite Terminator film. Not only that, it's my favorite 90s sequel, it's my favorite film in 1991, it's my second favorite James Cameron film behind Aliens, and one of my all-time favorite films in general. Everything about this movie rocks, from the score, to the action, to the characters, to the performances, to everything. Yeah, the story, of course, deals with Arnold returning from the future, not to kill Sarah or John this time, but to protect Sarah and John, who, as John's going to lead their human resistance against a world run by machines in the near future. And this time Arnold is the good guy. And he's up against this lethal, more advanced prototype called the T-1000. And the CGI used to create this new T-1000 is jaw-dropping. The very time it's released, it's still jaw-dropping today. And technology to create such things is now, more available. It's just not as great, though. Now, there's too much done with the bad side. It did kind of lead to a bit of a downfall for Hollywood because they now started relying on CGI more. There's too much done with computers here. Stunts still seem powerful. It goes done on a computer. Most of the stunts in T2 are live action and filmed using all types of vehicles and explosives. And James Cameron really slowly stunts with how he films them. And the cinematography and effects are stunning. Especially the scenes during the magic hour where the pale good sunset caused a meaningful, lovely effect on a scene. And it was the first $100 million movie. The effects are remarkable. Especially for the first film to be cost nearly $100 million. And they hold up wonderfully against a lot of anything just made in Hollywood today. But however, what really makes this movie phenomenal, the actors steal the show. Linda Hamilton can play insanity and despair like nobody's business, and she gave her all here. And Robert Patrick was really wonderful and demanding in the role, in the very intimidating role of the T-1000. He's creepy, he's threatening, and during the funny finger-wagging moment near the end, Arnold Schwarzenegger easily won his best performance yet. This balances non-stop action with machines emerging humanity. This movie, and also, newcomer at the time, Edward Furlong, who didn't really do much else after this except for American History X. He carries the film here with seeming ease and gives an astonishing performance for his age and lack of experience. The scene, we're not gonna make it, are we? That's hauntingly perfect. And the special effects are so incredible. The shape-shifting T-1000 is some of the greatest animation. It's definitely one of the greatest visual effects ever witnessed in cinema history. That definitely was really phenomenal to look at. When I first saw this on TV when I was 10 years old. The animation really looks very real. The movie includes fast-paced action, allows some clever sci-fi drama and horror. And a vast army of machines here, the idea of a vast army of machines taking over the world, which was envisioned by James Cameron's nightmares, and setting off warheads in every major city, is definitely scary enough. This was a nightmare James Cameron had. All this whole concept was a nightmare he had. Hence why it's, and the T-1000, even though he gets a wonderful performance from Robert Patrick, he gets very little lines. It's just creepy enough to make twitch when you just see him. So how do we open up our amazing sequel? Well, we start off in the year 2029, where Earth got ravaged by war between artificial intelligence Skynet and human resistance. Skynet once again decides to retry their efforts from the first film, where they send the T-1000 this time, a more advanced prototype Terminator that's made of liquid metal, and go to kill the resistance leader John Connor when he's a child, or a preteen. But to protect John Connor, instead of sending back another attempted Kyle Reese, they send back a reprogrammed T-800 that's less advanced metal. It's covered in synthetic flesh. And then we go to 1995 Los Angeles, about 11 or 10 years after the first film. This time, John's mother Sarah has now been in prison because of her violent efforts to prevent Judgment Day. The events of August 1997, where Skynet's going to gain intelligence, as its creators attempts to deactivate it with the nuclear holocaust. Then, of course, we now finally meet John Connor, Sarah's son. He's now living with foster parents, considers Sarah delusional, and resents Sarah for efforts to prepare him for his future role. And his foster parents, like his foster dad, is played by Xander Berkeley, who was the cheating boyfriend in the first Candyman film, among a few other things. And this time, like the T1000 is looking for John Connor, and he finds John at a shopping mall. Then the T800 intervenes, and it's a nice little first encounter him and the T1000 have. Definitely one of the most iconic first encounters in cinema here. He comes to John's aid, enables his escape, keeps blasting the T1000, and even get an iconic car chase, motorcycle or truck chase, like through a whole entire canal right there. And when the canal, when the truck blows up, we see his little liquid metal form, and it's very beautiful to look at. Yeah. Then on their way, trying to get out of town, John tries to call his foster parents, but the T800 deduces the T1000 already killed them because John realizes his foster mom doesn't really act all that nice. So it gets him a little suspicious, and she's acting a little nice all of a sudden, while his foster dad's still acting like a lazy dick, telling John's dog to shut up. But then T800 imitates John's voice on the phone, and then he realizes this, and he's like, "Your foster parents are dead," and hangs up the phone. Yeah. And yeah, it is true, because it turns out John's foster mom is actually the T1000 in disguise, and he's killed John's foster dad. Right there. And I think we can see the T1000 obviously kills John's dog. So yeah, then John Connor realizes T800 is programmed to obey him, but John does not want him killing any people, and so he orders to go save Sarah from the T1000. So yeah, it does involve travel to the past, but it immediately presents a time travel paradox which really can't be resolved. What happens after the two Terminators appear in the past is this wild ride rife with macho action, dark reflection, the nature of man, a few rays of hope here and there. Schwarzenegger, the good Terminator, Patrick, the bad one. They were such effective foes that the times they meet on screen are breathtaking. And also Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor is the even more wonderful character in this one. She was wonderful in the first one. She's even better in this movie. She's tough beyond all belief, focused on preventing the nuclear war, ensuring John's safety. And yeah, she's a lot out of her mind with the paranoia and anger from everything she went through in the first film, but you see actual character development in here. Especially when John and T1000 arrive at Dyson's house to prevent her from doing what she wants to, otherwise two-dimensional character. And Edward Furlong is definitely not bad. It's definitely pretty terrific as the kid John Connor, who gets confused by the fact that everyone except his mom tells him the entire upbringing was based on a lie. And the bit players all do their jobs well. Earl Bowen as a semi-sadistical mental hospital ward that stands between Sarah Connor and her son. Then the T1000 makes a chilling entrance. Then you have these players all set in motion. And you have the script that's there to deliver the real substance of the movie. There, and the script delivers. The film is even filled with great classic moments. The iconic line, "I'll be back," or heck, when the T800, or when John Connor's mentoring the T800, to say lines "Boston Vista, baby," or even some funny moments when they arrive in Mexico, at the Mexico hideout, and the T800 is familiar with all the human life there, and even a funny moment where it picks up a toddler is so walking past him. Yeah, and also the T800's entrance in the beginning of the movie is epic. When the T800 goes to the bar, asks for the clothes, the bikers refuse and say, "You got to say please," burn a cigar on his chest. He takes them all out, and so the guy's now intimidated to let him have the bike and the clothes. And then Bad to the Bone music starts playing when he's getting on the motorcycle, goes to find John. Yeah, the T1000 even bleeds evil, whereas the T1000 bleeds good. Yeah. There's so many great moments. Do you think the pacing would be a little uneven? Not really. The film shifts from place to place with ease that makes perfect sense. It never gives you time to start seeing some nitpicks. You drive forward, you get to the point. It does so thoughtfully with attention to its detail. This was back in the day when James Cameron wasn't all about trying to be all 3 hours and cool. and stuff. Like, no, this was back when James Cameron's runtimes were proper and his 2-hour runtimes worked. When he was just simply 2 hours max. Like there. Or if it was 2.5 hours, that made sense. Yeah, like, and Linda Hamilton, definitely one of the best female leads ever, in Sarah Connor with this movie. I say she's kind of up there with Ellen Ripley and Aliens here. Her character like really develops from the first movie, much like Ellen Ripley does as well. Yeah, sometimes the problem with most movie sequels, they usually act like the film before it never happened, or they just try to redo the first film and not realize that what made the first film work, they just ditch it all for the sequel and just try to think that repeating it again will work. No, it doesn't. Sarah Connor here, though, this is not the case with this sequel, or especially not the case with Sarah Connor. She's transferred. In the first film, she was a timid waitress, and now she's turned to a smart and brutal militaristic woman, especially after the trauma she got from the first movie. It shows James Cameron filmmaking genius here back at the time, and he truly knew back then how to make a great action film and a great sequel to follow it. Like, because of this and Aliens, like, two of the greatest sequels that were made. And during the course of this film, like, Sarah Connor really develops a phobia of Terminators because of her experience with the T-800 in the first film, when he was evil. During most of the film, like, she doesn't trust the Terminator at all, and tries to destroy his CPU chip. In a deleted scene, that is. Like, think of, like, in the director's cut or something. Then at the end, the Terminator's just about to destroy itself. She shakes hands with them and makes peace with them, and finally trusts the Terminator now. And it's a very touching moment. And Hamilton does a great job providing the narration in the film. And some gently written lines, she utters them with perfect drama and suspense, and revealing the story in the beginning and what's next for the future at the end. Yeah, and like, Edward Furlong surprisingly not, as definitely, John Connor was not an annoying kid. He was actually a very likable kid here. Really, Edward Furlong really made a name for himself when this movie released. Sadly, he didn't get a lot of major film roles. He did get, like, the only other major critically acclaimed role he got after this was years later American History X. Other than that, nothing else. He's perfect here with the juvenile offender John Connor. He's affected by the absence of his real mother, biological father, and he becomes attached to the Terminator and teaches him the meaning of human life. No one else, like, could have done the role better or equally as great. Like, yeah. Especially like he really pulls off like one of the beginning lines when he's dealing with his asshole foster parents, and then when they have foster dad Todd tries to get involved, he's like, "She's not my mother, Todd." Shows what Furlong really does with the character, and the line has the perfect facial expression and delivery. And So yeah, after the T-800 and John go to save Sarah Connor, they intercept Sarah Connor during her attempted escape, but then Sarah flees in horror because it's a T-800 that resembles a Terminator that was sent to kill her. But then John and the T-800 pursue her to join them, and they escape the pursuing T-1000. She's distrustful of the T-800 reasonably, but like Sarah uses its knowledge of the future to learn that a microprocessor that's being developed by the cyborg engineer Miles Dyson is going to be crucial to Skynet's creation. So over the course of the journey, like, Sarah sees that the T-800 is serving as a friend and father figure to John. And John, like, teaches him catchphrases and hand signs, encouraging him to become more human-like. So, and then Sarah wants to escape to Mexico with John, but yeah, they get there, they go for some weapons, and then they get, like, T-800 learning more about human life with the base they're at. Right there, and he's a funny moment where he picks up the toddler, it's just looking at it curious, like, the heck are you? It always gets a laugh out of me every time. Just curious to see, like, the guy, like, who's this little guy? It just manhandles the toddler, and the toddler just looks confused. It's like, why is this guy picking me up? Okay, but unfortunately, the happy moments kind of disappear quick because, like, even though, like, whereas the first one, when you have this, you still get a horror scene in this one, whereas this one was more of the horror movie, this one is the action movie. But that doesn't mean it's free of horror scenes, because during their time there, when they're in Mexico, they're, like, hiding out, they're getting some weapons. Sarah then has a nightmare about Judgment Day, and this is easily one of the scariest scenes of all time in cinema. Like, it's when she's like seeing these kids playing the playground. She's clearly screaming for their attention. Then suddenly a nuclear bomb goes off, and literally, then the kids, like, you hear the kids screams, the parents holding on to their children. Even Sarah starts burning and screaming. Like, I remember when I first saw this. When I first saw this, when I was 10 years old, when it aired on TV during the summer of 2008, I was basically forced to look away. I was not allowed to look at the screen until the scene was over, because apparently how really scary this scene was. Now, like, I've seen the scene years later, I can definitely understand why. And it's like, this scene does great, literally depicting a real-life nuclear attack, and even James Cameron got, like, emails of scientists saying they did a very accurate job presenting it. And that's something that clearly horrified him a lot. Right here. It really shows how well directed this whole scene is. Like, yeah, like, they're still not afraid to have some of the horror tone here. Even though this one's not the horror movie, they're still not afraid to have some horror moments here. So this nightmare convinces her to go kill Dyson. So she goes to Dyson's home and attacks him. But she can't kill a person because she sees that Dyson clearly has a family. So she quickly relents. Then John and the T-800 arrive. They reconcile with Sarah. And the T-800, like, convinces Dyson the future consequences of his work by pretty much cutting off a bit of his, like, the skin on his arm and presenting this, like, real robot hand to them. And it's nice to see the robot hand with the whole bloody flash, everything. And so Dyson then reveals his research was reverse engineered from the CPU and a severed arm of the 1984 Terminator. And so now Dyson decides his work needs to be destroyed before more consequences come, so Dyson decides to aid the trio to go into the cyber den, to retrieve the CPU in the arm, and set explosives to destroy the lab. But then the police raid the building, and they fatally shoot Dyson, but Dyson, though, decides to pull a heroic sacrifice to redeem himself, and he detonates explosives as he dies, so pretty much Dyson literally dies redeeming himself right there, dies pretty much destroying the Skynet lab for good. But however, though, the T-1000 doesn't stop there. The T-1000 is still alive and active, and it pursues the surviving trio and corners them right at a steel mill. So yeah, this movie is still R-rated. It's not as fierce or brutal as the first one, whereas, like, this one had, like, the T-800 punching a guy's fucking chest, punching through his fucking chest. I think even turned his fucking heart out. Like, this one had him cutting himself, like, gorily cutting himself to reveal his robot, like, designs after the whole police raid shootout. Had him going through a girl's fucking head. Right here, like, yeah. This one is kind of more the typical R-rated action. This second one, though, doesn't really have any of that. But it's still got plenty full of action sequences and a really great budget. Some great special effects and great character study of the machine we're against in the first film here. And this is a perfect example of how to make a villainous character into an actually good protagonist. Like, this Terminator has no memory of the first film. It wasn't this Terminator. It's a different, remodeled one of the same one. The Skynet creates hordes of the versions of machines on a large bell, and they ship them off to fight in the war. Some get sent back through time, but with that in mind, like, John's resistance finds, like, an extra one lying around, and so, yeah, they programmed him to keep John Connor out of harm. Yeah, like, you know, like, Sarah, and of course, like, Sarah goes through great development. She doesn't trust him in the beginning. She wants to kill Dyson, but then she sees Dyson as a family and quickly backs out of the plan, and she starts to trust the T-800 over time. Like, there's even a deleted scene where Sarah says, like, during the time she doesn't trust the T-800, like, you don't know what it's like to try and kill one of these things. Like, honestly, it sucks that this got taken out of the final cut. There was a lot of things that should have been kept in the final cut. Like, there was a dream with Kyle Reese that should have been kept in there. That scene I mentioned should have been kept in there. And hell, the ending they originally went with should have been the ending we got. And also the same scene, like, Sarah was about to destroy the machine's central processing chip located in his head, but John stops her. It's important because it focuses that Sarah still doesn't trust him after the events of the first film, and even came close to destroying him out of hatred without giving him any chance to redeem himself. Yeah. Here, like, it's one of those hidden messages that, like, really works. It's not all over preachy, like. And T2 has this perfect message. You don't judge a book by its cover. And if an emotionless killing machine can learn to appreciate life, why can everyone? And that's, like, Sarah's speech at the end of the movie, even. And 3, the most important, like, you don't mess with, like, yeah. And, like, here in your Terminator 2, like, the Terminator 1, this budget was like $6.4 million. This one was $94 million. Like, the budget, you could tell the budget's bigger, especially with the special effects. Like the first one was more practical effects. This one was one of the first CGI films right here, and the CGI is really phenomenal to look at. It's photographed aesthetically and beautifully. It maintains a dark because of the first film, and the sets of lighting are not quite nightmarish. There's definitely imaginative and atmospheric here. Like, the first one was like more darkly lit because it's shot most of the time at night. This one takes place a lot during the daytime. And it's superbly directed by James Cameron, and it's scored very hauntingly, especially with like the opening theme. Dun 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 dun. The opening titles, the end credits, like Terminator 2's script is snappy and even takes on this hard-edged tone in many parts, more than the original. The roller coaster action is thrilling in every sense. It's not overblown or dominating the film too much at the expense of depth. The story is enormously fun. Even like the film's screenplay is intelligently crafted. It's got blending action, drama, thought-provoking themes, and the nature of humanity, the consequences of our actions. Like, Terminator 2 is not just an action-packed spectacle. It explores the relationship between humans and machines. And this time, like, Arnie was the bad guy in the first film. Now he's a good guy. The slow-mo type Terminator who's come to protect John Connor and is learning the human ways of life. And some even more badass, some really humorous, even. It's like humorous without like there's humor in the movie, but it doesn't overshadow the film. It's only done when it needs to be there. Like, it's technically the Terminator is also still the killing machine though when it's trying to battle a T-1000, and it's also a father figure, like the father John Connor never got to have. So it's like lit in this cold steely blue, and it gives him this hard sculptured look. The sunglasses even cover his eyes though. It doesn't really give him much emotion. He like even throws people out of his way like rag dolls, and they are helpless to stop him. But he's helpful to John, like because technically he's supposed to be John's protector. Even about this film, like even about personal sacrifice and duty, destiny, the strong ones, like destiny of people have strong character and the destiny they choose, like to sacrifice themselves to fulfill their duty in order to prove themselves as humans. Now, anyways, like, after they're cornered at a steel mill, you get the finale, and this finale is, like, one of the best finales of all time in any action movie. So, after they're at the steel mill, kind of like we were at a steel mill in the first film, they're at, like, a more smaller one this time around. The steel mill in the first film, like, during the chase scene at the end of the first, was a little bigger. This time it's a little bit more smaller. Sarah and John then split to escape. The T-1000 mangles the T-800 and does deactivate it by destroying its power source. But then the T-1000 assumes Sarah's appearance to lure out John, and Sarah then intervenes. And with the reactivated T-800, like, you get like the whole scene where Sarah's trying to shoot it, but that doesn't affect the T-1000. It gives the look. But then the T-800 shows up, blasts a hole into his chest, and even like during the last blast he gives him, he says, like, "Basta la vista, baby." Shoots him into the molten lava right there. And he just disintegrates. All his disguises are all screaming. And he melts into the molten steel. He disintegrates and he's finally destroyed. So T-1000 is destroyed, but the T-800, though, unfortunately, the T-800 explains that he also has to be destroyed. Otherwise, if he doesn't get destroyed, Skynet will have a foundation to keep on their work, and Judgment Day will still happen. John's like tearfully protesting, "I order you not to go, I order you not to go." And you see throughout the movie, the T-800 was asking John why he cries. And this time, like, now, the T-800 now says, "Now I know why you cry." And even like has this like shim up to them to comfort him, to comfort like the guy who doesn't want the T-800 to die. Like, the T-800 persuades them also its destruction is the only way that's going to protect their future, and Judgment Day will not happen. And Sarah finally, like, her character development completes here. She shakes the T-800's hand. She's finally come to respect it. And so she lowers the T-800 to the vat. And, like, this is one of the most heartbreaking sacrifices in film history. Like, especially with the well-delivered lines like, "Now you know why you cry," and Edward Furlong's heartbreaking performance here, and Sarah's now respected the T-800 just for where she'd entrusted throughout the entire movie, and now she finally does. We even watched the T-800 give John a thumbs up as it's incinerated, as you see the sad version of the Terminator 2 theme playing in the background. And then, like, they're, like, Sarah and John embrace, are finally together again. And then, like, it ends with Sarah driving down a highway with John. She's reflecting on a renewed hope for an unknown future. And, like, and then we get the closing speech. If the machine can learn the value of human life, so can we. And yeah, like, it closes out the film there. Like, they're driving off to their unknown future. It was a nice way to end it. Judgment Day is destroyed. Skynet's destroyed. Like, the whole war's been prevented. They can now have an actually good life now together. Like, they can just leave now, go somewhere far away, or they won't have to deal with society. It's over. Right there. Like, it was the perfect speech to close the film. Like, although, technically speaking, I think the director's cut, like, shows a more better version of the ending, and I feel like the director's cut ending is the better ending, and I wish we had that for the original version. Because, guys, this was supposed to be the movie that closed out the series. But, oh, no. No, that we can't have that. 12 years later, because, like, Schwarzenegger's career was going on decline, was starting a lot of bombs. Many years later, WB's Warner Brothers somehow got their grummy little hands on the series and decided they think they could still save Arnie's career at the time by reviving the franchise and give it more films. They apparently must have thought they had a bankable franchise on their hands, because 2003, 12 years after this, we had Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines, and that film, it's not terrible. It's certainly a better third installment than Alien 3, but it's mediocre. And hell, like, the ending of Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines, yeah, the ending of that one where Judgment Day happens and John and Kate have to accept their fates, yeah, that's a huge fuck you to the efforts of T2. Yeah, good job making the whole movie, making these two movies fucking pointless. Right there, I don't hate the film, but I really hate the fucking ending. The ending pissed me off of that film. Then you have Terminator Salvation. Now with the unrated version of the movie anyways. That's the only post-Terminator 2 follow-up that I actually enjoy, and the only one worth a shit. The director's cut anyways. The theatrical cut is also alright. The unrated version is the proper version you should watch if you watch that film. And hell, I wish Terminator Salvation got follow-ups instead of more reboots, but because Rise of the Machines didn't do so well, I guess we can't really use Arnie's character no more, so we have Christian Bale, Sam Worthington. They actually do work in the film, so guess what, guys? Salvation released, it didn't do so well, so hey, let's reboot it again, and we're gonna bring back Arnie back, because Arnie's now getting his career revived again. And guess what, guys? We have Terminator Genesis shit in 2015, that apparently Jimmy Cammey thought that was good. And guess what, guys? That movie was hated by everybody, and it fucking bombed. Okay, Terminator Genesis shit didn't do so well. What do we do now? Hey, let's reboot it again. Except this time we'll get a direct, proper sequel to Terminator 2. And that right there, guys, was Terminator Dark Woke. Guess how it goes. Jimmy Cammey produces the film, and he says he hated Alien 3, but guess what, guys? Somehow he apocryphally was fine with the T-800 start raging out in the beginning, shooting John Connor in the fucking face. Oh, damn it, my light just fucking died. Whatever. Yeah, shoot John Connor in the fucking face. Give Sarah and the T-800 nothing to do at all. Makes the whole efforts of the first two more fucking pointless. Yeah, guess what, guys? Now we're replaced with a protector that needs fucking medication to stay alive, so she's a fucking idiot. Yeah. Focus on a Mexican girl now replacing John Connor you don't give a rat's ass about. The T-800, Sarah Connor, they're in the movie, they get nothing to do! And guess what, guys? That movie fucking bombs! And it's killed the franchise! Jimmy Cammey, you claimed you were happy with these two movies being the only ones, but somehow you were perfectly fine. But 12 years later, you clearly changed your mind, because then again, Terminator 3 was made around the time when Jimmy Cammey became a sellout, when he made Titanic, and made the Avatar films, and then decided before Avatar we had pissed, he went and wrote Terminator Dark Woke. And even though he disliked Alien 3, he was perfectly fine with killing John Connor off for some weird reason. So you're one hypocrite moron. So much for disliking Alien 3. Yeah. That's one of my bad qualities with this movie. I've mentioned, I'm not onto the bad qualities. I mentioned the sequel curse. Here lies the problem. As much as I love the T-800 in this movie, it would serve as a problem for the rest of the movies. Because ever since this movie, they've humanized him more and more after that, and it became a huge problem for people who preferred his evil side in the first film. But while it's handled terrific here, it's handled very badly in the later films. But that's it, guys. Because Terminator 2 is an iconic sequel. It's the best of the series, and to me, to my opinion, guys, this will be the end of Terminator. All right, at least I have these two films to watch instead. But I know I'm gonna have to review the other films at some point, so yeah, that's gonna be so fucking fun. Yeah, so fun to rewatch Dark Fate. I haven't seen that movie since I saw it in theaters, and I'm really not excited to watch that shit when I have to rant on this. Fuck Dark Fate and fuck Genesis. So guys, anyway, in the end, obviously Terminator 2 is definitely worth buying for every action and Arnold and Cameron fan that loves the first one or loves Cammy's older movies. Anyways, guys, that's it for my epic movie review of Terminator 2 Judgment Day, and if we're going to rate Terminator 2 Judgment Day, here's how I'm definitely going to rank this movie. So overall, if you loved the first one and are dying to see the even better sequel now, then totally watch and buy this movie for your shelf and collection, obviously. And if you're wondering if I'm going to rank Terminator 2 Judgment Day, I am obviously going to give Terminator 2 Judgment Day a full-blown 10 out of 10. There we go, guys. That wraps up my review for Terminator 2 Judgment Day, my epic review for Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I'll put these two movies back. Now that I finally did the Terminator 2 Judgment Day, I can finally get ready for my X-Men series. I don't want to review the other Terminator films now because I don't really like the rope, because I'm not a big fan of the other stuff after Terminator 2. I want to wait on that for a while before I even think about raging, destroying the shit out of Dark Fate or Genesis, or even have to sit through those fucking movies. Ugh, man. Anyways, guys. Tell me in the comments down below what you think of Terminator 2, whether you think the first one's better, whether you think Terminator 2 is better. I'm interested to know which one you think is the better movie, or whether you think they're both equally good like I do. And until then, guys, that'll be it for this epic movie review. Thank you all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe to Don G. Corleone.